Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this episode 3833 AN. Today's date is February 4th, 2026, and the title of the episode is ADP just revised their employment data back to 2010. The illusion is being exposed. Now, the rules of money are being rewritten right in front of our eyes. The institutions that control the financial system aren't waiting, warning, or wishing. They are acting, buying gold and silver at an unprecedented pace. They're preparing for something. The question is, are you? For nearly a decade, Noble Gold Investments has helped thousands of people protect their wealth with physical gold and silver. As the world shifts to hard assets, the window to act is closing. Let Noble Gold show you how simple it is to protect yourself and your family. While everyone else is reacting to the news, Noble Gold clients are positioning. The understanding that when the rules change, you need assets that don't depend on the system. Visit X22Gold.com and download your free wealth protection kit. That is X22Gold.com. The rules are changing. Make sure you are ready. Or just click the link in the description. And remember, past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private West Central Bank, the World Economic Forum, what we see happening right now is that the illusion that the central bankers, the deep state players have kept up for a very, very long time to keep people believing that the economy is doing absolutely fantastic and there's no problems whatsoever. They had to manipulate all the calculations to make you think that everything was great. Oh, don't worry. Production's fantastic. Oh, don't worry. We have filled all the jobs we need to fill. Oh, don't worry. There is absolutely no inflation whatsoever. It's only around 2%. That's about it. GDP numbers, don't worry about it. It's all looking good. But you have to remember, the central bank system breaks down over time. And over time, what do you have to do? You have to manipulate the calculations over and over and over again. And this is what the deep state players have been doing. And actually, when Trump started to swap out those people in the BLS, he started to realize, and I think he already knew this, that, hey, wait a minute, these numbers are all fake. You have to remember, if you go back to just Biden's time, he manipulated the employment numbers. And it wasn't just him alone. The Fed knew about it. BLS knew about it. They were all in it together. They all knew exactly what was going on. It was done on purpose. And if you go all the way back to 1971, when we came off the gold standard, yes, they had to manipulate everything. Yes, back then they changed the calculation for employment. They changed the calculation for inflation. They changed the calculation for GDP. They needed to do this to keep you in the dark so you didn't realize that the entire economic system was completely and utterly falling apart right in front of your eyes. And this is what they've done for a very long time. Plus, they prop the market up to make you think that, hey, since the market is up, everything is good. And think about it. Trump, the Patriots, they're using all of this against the deep state, the central bankers. And now what do we see happening? Well, ADP, they just revised their employment data going all the way back to 2010. Now, why would they do that if everything is fine? Because once again, we know the deep state players, the central bankers, Biden, those individuals before him, the Federal Reserve, they've been manipulating these calculations. So basically what we're seeing happen right now is the illusion is about to break, just like the illusion that, hey, gold is worth absolutely nothing. Now we see gold approaching $5,000 once again. Silver is approaching $100 again. It's going to go over $5,000. It's going to go over $100. Because once again, they had to keep the illusion alive with paper markets. Remember, the gold paper market came into existence when? Oh, as soon as we came off the gold standard. Isn't that odd? And they used it to keep the gold prices down. That's what they did. The entire system that we've been living in has been controlled by the central bank system. The central bank system has created an illusion to make you believe that this is normal. We're going to take your money internally to pay for our corrupt system. That's normal. We're going to keep taxing you because our system breaks down and we don't have enough to fund everything. So we're just going to keep taxing and taxing and taxing. That's normal. It's not normal. And this is something the founding fathers never, ever wanted. And now you can see everything is being reversed. And like we said from the very, very beginning, you're going to see the difference between states that are following the Great Reset, the Green New Scam, and those agendas, the central banks agendas, and you're going to see the difference between the other states, the red states, that are following what Trump is doing. And we're already starting to see that. Stephen Moore put this out and said 7 of the top 10 growth states, unified Republican control. 6 of the bottom 10, unified Democrats. Massachusetts, high taxes on millionaires, ranks 47th in job growth. Coincidence? I think not. And here are the top growth states: Idaho, Utah, South Carolina, Texas, Florida, North Carolina, Montana, Arizona, Nevada, Tennessee. Here are the worst states: Louisiana, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Iowa, Illinois, West Virginia, Vermont, Massachusetts, Hawaii, District of Columbia. And I think that tells you everything you need to know right now. And you can see we're seeing a major, major separation. And just like you see a separation with the fuel prices, if you look at states like California or many of the other states, the blue states, you see their fuel prices, they're still pretty high, especially California. If you look at a lot of the red states, you see that those fuel prices are now coming down. Secretary Doug Burgum says, policies drive prices. States following POTUS's American energy dominance agenda have considerably lower gas prices than states following the Green New scam. And that is absolutely true. When you look at all of this, you could see it very, very clearly. Now, just take, for example, California and Washington. Their low price, and this is California's low price, is $4.04. Washington's low price is $3.75. If you look at New York, the high price is $3.16. If you look at Massachusetts, it's $3.11. If you look at Minnesota, it's $3.14. If you look at Florida, it's $3.14. If you look at Ohio, $3.41. If you look at Texas, it's $2.86. If you look at Colorado, it's $3.20. So right there, that tells you everything you need to know. And I do believe soon, as the oil companies start to drill and they get their leases approved, I do believe going throughout this entire year, you're going to see fuel prices really start to come down, especially when you start to see Venezuela churn out a lot of oil. You're going to see fuel prices start to come down all over the place. Now, the other thing, like we mentioned from the title, ADP employment report was revised to 2010. Now, this is very odd. This is very strange. And Wall Street put this out. And basically, what they did was they went all the way back to 2010 and they decided to do a massive revision, which is kind of strange, don't you think? For example, in 2025, the new version, red, shows job declines in March, April, and May, when the old version showed substantial job gains, blue. Then for the second half of 2025, the new version, red, shows bigger job gains of 345,000 for June through December. Then the old version, 131,000. For 2024, the new version shows big job losses in February, March, while the old version showed moderate gains. And then again in September and October 2024, the new version showed job losses, red, when the old version showed massive job gains. Now, think about why all of this happened. For 2023, the new version showed huge job gains for May, June, and July, while the old version showed much smaller gains. These massive differences go back all the way to 2010. The entire data set was massively revised. And what is the reason for all of this? Because I do believe, going back, way back, the job numbers were completely manipulated, especially during Biden/Obama's term. They manipulated the job numbers because they had to make everyone believe the economy was doing well. And this is how they tricked the people. And it's not just job numbers. It's inflation. It's the stock market. It's pretty much the GDP numbers. It's pretty much everything. And I do believe this is why there's a major reset going on right now, because the illusion is being exposed. And people now are starting to realize that we've been tricked going back in time. And when you really start to look at inflation, I do believe now the rules of money are being rewritten right in front of our eyes. The institutions that control the financial system aren't waiting, warning, or wishing. They are acting, buying gold and silver at an unprecedented pace. They're preparing for something. The question is, are you? For nearly a decade, Noble Gold Investments has helped thousands of people protect their wealth with physical gold and silver. As the world shifts to hard assets, the window to act is closing. Let Noble Gold show you how simple it is to protect yourself and your family. While everyone else is reacting to the news, Noble Gold clients are positioning. The understanding that when the rules change, you need assets that don't depend on the system. Visit X22Gold.com and download your free wealth protection kit. That is X22Gold.com. The rules are changing. Make sure you are ready. Or just click the link in the description. And remember, past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions. When it's all said and done, and we remove the central bank system, I think we need to report that, hey, inflation was never 2%. Yeah, maybe on a yearly basis, but overall, since we came off the gold standards, going all the way back to 1971, what did we see? We saw 3,000% inflation, which means the value of the currency declined rapidly when we came off the gold standard. And that's the reason why we had to go back on the gold standard. So I do believe the illusion now is falling apart for the deep state players, for the central bankers. And now the truth is coming out step by step. And this is why they've created the silver market going all the way back to the 30s. Remember, we got a new central bank. Remember the third one in 1913. We had the Great Depression in the 30s, and they basically started the silver paper market. When we came off the gold standard in 1971, in 1974, they started the gold paper market. They needed all of this to keep the illusion alive. Because you have to remember, going back in time, you had silver certificates. You were able to trade in those pieces of paper for silver. So why would you need a paper market? To drive silver prices down? Most likely, yes. Why would you need a paper market for gold? To drive prices down? Absolutely, yes. That is the reason they had them. So they can control what the precious metals dictate. And if you just allowed the precious metals to dictate what was really going on, you would see silver at probably $400 or $500. That's my belief. And you would see gold at $15,000, $20,000 around that area. And that would show the people that there's something wrong with the fiat currency. And this is something the central bankers never wanted anyone to see. Because again, if people saw this and people experienced this all throughout time, people would realize there's something wrong with the system. So instead, to keep their system hidden from everyone, they had to move the manufacturing out of this country. They had to set up payment. They had to set up credit. They had to recalculate everything or manipulate the calculation to convince you that everything is fine. By doing all of these things, they were able to keep the illusion alive for a very long time. And now it's all falling apart, especially with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin really put into focus what the fiat currency is actually worth. And what's very interesting is you could see the Ds, a lot of rhinos, the central bank, they never liked Bitcoin. They never liked the crypto market. Why? Because it showed you that, hey, that fiat currency that you're holding, it's not worth that much. It declined in value quite a bit. And what was happening over time is, yeah, they were able to control the gold market. They were able to control the silver market, but they weren't able to control the crypto market. And this is why they started to say, oh, crypto is used by criminals. We have to control it. We need some type of paper market. We need something to control the whole thing. And what's very interesting is that Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, he was defending America's strategic Bitcoin reserve. Now, remember, the Ds, the central bankers, they do not want Bitcoin. They never did. They've been trying to push it away. They've been trying to convince the people, do not go into it. The same thing with gold and silver. They convinced everyone that gold and silver was only used for jewelry. And what's very interesting is that Scott Bessent said, listen, yeah, we were able to get a hold of 500 million through crime, but that's worth 15 billion right now. He goes, that's pretty darn good, don't you think? It absolutely is. Of course, Representative Sherman didn't like the answer. He didn't like what Bessent was saying because it didn't fall into their narrative. And he pretty much Bessent just debunked everything that he was trying to do, and he failed once again. All these people continue to fail over and over and over. And you could see where all of this is headed right now. Trump now is working with the actual leaders of certain countries. Yes, he's still working with installed politicians, and those installed politicians are fighting back because they have their marching orders from the deep state and the central bankers. Try not to make a deal with Trump. And they understand that, well, if we don't make a deal, the entire country is going to implode and the people are going to push us out. So they have no choice but to make a deal with Trump. You see, Trump right now has all the leverage against these people. So when you look at the EU, when you look at Starmer, when you look at Carney, when you look at Macron, they do not have the upper hand because they know if they continue to fight Trump on tariffs and they lose, their economy is going to start to fall apart very, very rapidly, especially when Trump raises the tariffs, to 25, 30, 40, 50%. And what do you think the people of those countries who already hate them, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to push to get rid of him because their economy is going to suffer. The people of the country is going to suffer. So no matter what, they can't push back that hard. And eventually they have to fold and go along with what Trump wants. And this is why Trump has all the leverage right now. And I do believe Trump is setting everything up to have all the leverage when he moves against the central bank system. And yes, he's going to have people within the central bank system that is going to assist in all of this. And we have to remember, the Federal Reserve is not part of the government. It's a private corporation, and it's the third one in this country. And I do believe Trump, without hurting the people's wealth, without hurting the economic system, he wants to slowly transition us away from the central bank and slowly restructure the Federal Reserve. Actually, I think the Federal Reserve is going to come in line with his tariff system to make it a lot easier for the entire country to shift away from the central bank system. As it is right now, we have the central bank system on one side. It's a debt system, and it's completely opposite of what the tariff system does. So I do believe what Trump is going to do, he's going to try to bring them in alignment. It doesn't mean that the central bank system is going to be an income system. It's still a debt system. But if you bring it into alignment of what the tariff system needs and you have them on the same page, it makes the transition that much easier. And I do believe that's where all of this is headed right now. Because slowly but surely, what is Trump going to do? He's going to wean us off the borrowing of the central bank. Instead of borrowing billions from the central bank, we will use billions from the external source, which is coming through tariffs, the gold card, energy sales. We haven't even got to the energy sales yet. Wait and see that happens. Wait until AI sales. Wait until he ramps up the gold card sales. We're going to see trillions of dollars coming into this country. And as he uses the parallel economic system to pay for certain things, to pay for the taxes, he's going to wean the people off of the central bank, and we will no longer borrow from the central bank. I'm not saying he's going to cut it off completely, but he's going to say, you know what? Okay, we have a new bill coming into Congress. We need money. Don't look at the central bank. Look at the external revenue source. So basically, we're going to look at the programs and we're going to say, okay, this is how much we have. We do not have trillions of dollars. We only have a certain amount. This is what we can use. These have to be actual programs. What DOGE is doing right now within the government, it's setting up a system that's going to track everything to make sure the funds are sent to where they're supposed to be sent. See, before, we didn't have that. Nobody knew where anything was going, and that was done on purpose because they wanted the corruption to continue on without anyone realizing what was going on, and they could just borrow and borrow and borrow. Everything now is about to change. And this is why DOGE was decentralized into all the different agencies. And I do believe that eventually what's going to happen is Trump is going to get that power back that the presidency used to have, and that is the impoundment authority. And I do believe that is going to be returned to the presidency. You have to remember when we came off the gold standard, all of a sudden you could see all of this was removed and the control was brought into Congress. And this was done on purpose to maintain control no matter which president we had in the White House. But I think this is all about to change right now. By the way, that was passed in 1974. I do believe this is all about to change right now. And we can see that Trump is going to be taking complete and utter control of the economic system. And I do believe to do this, what do we need? We need the House, we need the Senate, which I do believe this time around in 2026, I do believe that's going to happen. Because think about it. Trump now is gearing up the entire economic system to really start to improve over this year. And it's going to get better and better and better as we approach the midterms. And think about it. Everything was set into motion on purpose for this year Because when people feel good, when people are making a good living, fuel prices are very low, your income tax is gone, you're getting a dividend check, fuel prices are very, very low, people feel good. And they want to vote for that individual or those people that are going to keep this going. And that's what Trump is counting on. And once we get the House, once we get the Senate, we'll be able to do the second part of the plan, and that is to remove the Federal Reserve and make sure that it never tries to sneak back into our system again. We're going to stop it cold. And I do believe we're probably going to need an amendment for this. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.